Well, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Mike Cavalli here on the Mediumship Show, and a very special thank you to the New You TV network for having us on board. If you care to, you can find them at www.newyounetwork.com. That's www.newyounetwork.com, and that's where you're going to find all our shows on. I just want to give you the heads up. I intend to make this show into a magazine program with interviews and news, and I intend doing some live readings here in the studio. It's a building process. I've got to get the right team around me and everything else, and it takes a bit of time to do this, but we'll get there. In the meantime, we'll deal with what we've got, which is just me at the moment. So today we're going to be looking at the mechanics of mediumship. We're going to be doing this in different segments throughout the weeks. And we're also, in the second half of the show, we're going to be looking at how to deal with psychic attacks, sleep paralysis, house clearing, and so on. I do want to point out that this is not a psychic show where you write in with comments asking for job, finance, or relationship issues. This is evidential mediumship. So before we begin the show, it's best if I explain the difference. I did this in detail in another show. But psychics do not connect with the spirit world. They generally look at energy that's around them or around the person they're reading, either in front of them or at the other end of a phone. Again, it's not local, so distance is not a problem. And the energies are tuned. You tune into the energies and you see a trajectory that they're on. And whatever the question is, you can say, basically, if you continue along the path that you're going along, this, and this is likely to happen. But these timelines are notorious because you have free will and you may change the direction where you want to go, and you haven't even thought about that yet. There is free will from other people who may not have crossed your path, but they've changed their direction and now will cross your path and can change your trajectory if you choose to. So there is a lot of ifs and buts, and so if you do get a psychic reading, it shouldn't be cast in stone simply because there is free will. Now, this is completely different to evidential mediumship, and that's what we are doing here. This is what this show is about, fundamentally. Evidential mediumship, proof of survival, proof that we do survive the earthly body, that in fact we continue to exist, but at a different frequency. And so that's what we'll be doing today. We get the information from the spirit world, and we get this in various ways. We're going to be talking about that throughout this series. But for today, we're going to start off with just some up and coming information that you really need to know about to get you started. And most of this information is coming from my book, Proof of Survival, Development Guide to Mediumship. And it is a guide to mediumship, that's all. As you can see, it's a thin book. There's only about 50 odd pages because I didn't want to pack it out with endless examples and fluff it all up just for the sake of making a thicker book. It is what it is. It's a guide, so you can go back and refer to different things as and when you come across them. So a lot of the information we're going to see today comes from this book, Proof of Survival. You can get it all the normal outlets. So if you've got any comments, you've got any questions, please put them down there, and I should be able to see them now. I wasn't able to see them last week, but I think I'm going to be able to see them this week. So any comments, if you've got any questions, please let me know. So right, let's begin at the very beginning with mediumship. One of the things you must do with mediumship, if you are training to become a medium, Or if you just want to have a reading, it's really quite interesting, the mechanics of mediumship. So you might find this interesting also. But one of the things as a medium you must do is leave your logic at the door and collect it on the way out, because your logical brain is a disaster for you in terms of mediumship readings. Somehow you have to try and empty your brain before you do a mediumship reading, and all logic, how you plan conversation with somebody on the earth plane, goes out the window. It doesn't work like that when you want to make communication with somebody on the other side. So what happens is the monkey brain has got to stop. You've got to stop the monkey brain from working. How this all works, let's talk about leaving your logic at the door. Now, if the same question was asked by your boss, your brother, your mother, your friend, your husband, wife, though your response would be of the same connotation, the phrasing and the words you use would be different according to who you were speaking to. Most likely you would not answer the question the same way to your boss as you would to your friend. This is the earthly way we do things. However, in the world of mediumship, that goes out the window. You've simply got to say what is given from the spirit or the guide and give the message. It is the complete opposite way of thinking, because when we speak to someone on the earth plane, we want to rationalize everything. We think about what we're going to say before we say it. And when you're giving a reading, whilst you're thinking about what you're trying to say, you will also break the link. It doesn't make a good link. A good mediumship reading would be something like I'm doing now, just talking to you, just going through everything, not thinking about it. It comes in naturally. This would be leaving your logic at the door, not allowing your monkey mind, your monkey brain to step in. But we need a little bit of caution as well, and a little bit of common sense, because whilst we got to give what's given, we need to be a little bit delicate. If you are doing a one-to-one reading and you've got someone in front of you and their son, who passed into the spirit world, committed suicide, you might find that they're strong enough to say, I've got your son here, he committed suicide. However, it might be better to say, I've got your son here, would you understand he took his own life? Now, if you are in a situation where I am quite often doing live readings in front of an audience, it can be 20 people up to 100, 150, or on the radio where I used to do a lot of stuff, it's a different ball game. It's out in the public. So it wouldn't very well be a good idea to say, oh, I've got your son here, he committed suicide. A far better way of putting this would be, would you understand that his passing was his own doing? This is a much better way of saying things, I think, and it's more soothing, and it's less harsh to the person receiving the message and to the audience around. But our logic would actually tell us, in this case, just to splurt it out. That doesn't work. We got to temper it. We got to just find a little bit of balance so that we can make everyone comfortable, because this is what we're trying to do. We're offering closure and support and letting them know that they continue. They will get upset quite often, a lot of people. Tears are good, but we've got to have tears for the right reason. So, I mean, that's the first tip that I'd like to give you. Leave your logic at the door and collect it on the way out. You can go back to your monkey mind once the reading is finished. And so the second tip that is an absolute must in mediumship is to offer absolutely no resistance to the message, because the moment you offer resistance to what's been given to you, then it's lost. And this is the difference between top flight musicians, top flight mediums, and average mediums. You give exactly what's given, but you temper it. You temper it in such a way that makes it palatable. Spirit is not silly. They know if you're in front of an audience and won't give you anything that's going to embarrass people. And we can talk about that later on, about how to give, in the section about how to give a reading. That'll be in a few weeks' time. But you must offer no resistance. One of the things you have to be really honest with yourself here is and say, am I hesitant to give what's given? Or do I need clarification on this? Because asking for clarification is not being in resistance. You're actually saying, look, I accept what you're saying, but I can't understand it, and neither can the person understand it. So can you please put it in another way for me? So offering resistance is when somebody says, when the Spirit gives a message and you go, I don't want to say that, I think they mean such and such and such. Disaster. It breaks the link, as well as you are not giving the message and not being true to what Spirit is giving you. You're breaking the link. It takes a hell of a lot for the spirit world to lower their vibration a little bit, and it takes for us to raise our vibration. And the moment that you start to not give what is given, it weakens the link. And you know, it's not a punishment if the link gets broken, and it's not recognition if you just carry on and continue with the link in a good way, in a good, positive, strong way. It's neither, it's as I say, it's neither bad nor good. It is what it is. That's the way it works. So the advice there is also not to be so harsh on yourself, but you have to have the courage to say, am I hesitant to say this and therefore in resistance? Or what am I really confused about what's being said? Let me give you an example of this. I was giving a workshop a while back, and I was working with this young medium, very good medium actually, and he was giving me a reading, and I was playing devil's advocate with him a bit, I've got to admit. And he said to me, Mike, he said, I can see the house. He said, but it's really strange. He said, there's a very, very, very tall gate here in front of the house, which is out of proportion. Do you understand this? Playing devil's advocate, I said, no, sorry, I can't. So I told him what we should do is always go back and ask them again. Tell them you want clarification. Mike doesn't understand it. So he went back and he stopped and he thought for a little bit, and he said, Mike, I can't change it. They're still showing me this very high gate. And I said, well, I understand it now, because Highgate was where I used to live. You see, he saw it as a tall gate, but it was in fact a high gate. And this is something that we will get into, the language of mediumship, a couple of shows down, because the language of mediumship is different for absolutely everybody. And it's really, you really are learning a new language. So this young man did exactly the right thing. He went back for clarification, and he came back and he did the right thing again. He didn't change it to make it fit. And he gave what was given. The only thing was that he misinterpreted the reading. It was clearly a high gate they were showing and not a tall gate. This happens. This happens to the most experienced of readers. This happens to TV mediums. This happens all the time. One of the other things you must understand is to be gentle with yourself, to be kind yourself. You are not the oracle, you are a messenger. And sometimes the message gets confused, and sometimes we have to sort it out, and sometimes we cannot sort it out, and we have to just leave that link and put it to one side. So that's another tip for you. So let's look through these tips. First and foremost, leave your logic at the door and collect it on the way out. You must get rid of that monkey mind of yours. Do not allow the monkey mind to take place. And by the way, talking of monkey mind, here's just a quick heads up on this. You know, one of the things I tell people in the workshops is when they start to do readings, they close their eyes, and they keep their eyes closed, and they keep them closed, and they start to see the picture in their mind. It starts to build up there. But this is imagination, usually. When your eyes close, the mind takes over and wants to make things comfortable and puts you in your comfort zone, and then starts to create a story for you. More so if you're doing a live in front of an audience, people. It's a disaster closing your eyes. You close your eyes, you're going into imagination. So it's important that you just sit looking at where you want to go, keeping your eyes open. This way you'll be able to build up the story a lot better. So leave your logic at the door and collect it on the way home. The second tip, offer absolutely no resistance to the message. Give whatever was given. I want to give you a quick example. I was doing a couple of years ago now, and this lady, she was okay. She was accepting what I had to say with the reading, but she wanted a name. She said, Mike, if you give me the name, I'll know 100% that this is who we got here. But this person wouldn't give me the name, and it's most likely because, in this case, I would say it's because she was pushing and pushing and pushing. There was resistance, and so the frequency wasn't going round quite as good. It could have also been that I just wasn't on that frequency where I could pick up his name. However, we were finishing the reading, and I said, by the way, I said, I'll leave you with this thought, and here it is, offering no resistance, leave your logic at the door. I was given the song The Wind Beneath My Wings. I said, they want me to give you this song, The Wind Beneath My Wings. And she said, Mike, now I know absolutely that is my brother, because that is the song we played at his funeral. So whilst they didn't give me the name for whatever reason, this is something else we're going to get into down the line. They did offer that final bit of information that she wanted to confirm it. So let's move on now to our third tip. Fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. And of course, this is no different in any trade. I am surrounded by people in the theatrical world, and family are opera singers, and friends are opera singers, and friends are in theatre. And I can assure you, even the young people that I see in theatre, they are there, they are present in the moment, they are doing it, they are there 100%, and that is the only way you can be. When you want to do mediumship, if you want to be excellent at the work you do in mediumship, then you must prepare yourself absolutely 100%. How do we do this? How do we prepare? Well, there's no shortcut to this. You have to put in the hours. Unless, of course, you know exactly why you've come to the earth plane to do this, then probably you don't have to put in the hours that you need to do. Now, before I go on any further, I just want to explain something, and that is this. You often hear the phrase, Everyone is psychic, but not everyone is a medium. And I'm going to go against the grain, and probably my colleagues in the business won't like me for saying this, but I disagree. I believe everyone has the potential and the gift, the God given gift inside them to do mediumship readings. It's just a case of what you want to do. And I've got somebody here in the spirit world here, as you can hear as my voice is changing. This person has had a throat condition. I'm going to ask him just to step back. I think it's a him. He doesn't want to step back, but I'm going to ask him to step back just for a minute. Everybody can be a medium. It's just that sometimes some people have got to put more effort into becoming a medium. Others find it easy. And no different from acting, from sports people. And the top sports people will, even on holiday, do light training. Even if it's just muscle memory, they will just continue to, rather than just take time off, will just simply do some light exercise, even if it's walking, keep the muscles toned. Living with an opera singer every day, she is basically tuning her instrument, which is her voice, keeping it functionable, keeping it ready, keeping it at its top of its game. And mediumship is absolutely no different. So you've got to put in the hours. So the question is, what if I don't have the hours? Well, you're better off. Well, the plan should be, it should be intention, plan, and action. And once you have intention, plan, and then action, time becomes irrelevant. You're better off doing 10 minutes every day of plan, intention, and action. Or intention, plan, and action, excuse me. 10 minutes every day rather than an hour Monday, and I'll do half hour on Wednesday and 30 minutes on Saturday. This is too wishy-washy. This, again, is a disaster for mediumship. You really have to let spirit know exactly what you're doing. 10 minutes every day, or 10 minutes on Monday, 10 minutes on Wednesday, 10 minutes on Friday. Now, there will be circumstances where, with the greatest will, you can't meet that intention that you set out, and that's fine. Spirit understands that. But when it becomes habitually breaked, then we're back to resistance again. You're resisting, no matter which way you look at it. So you've got to put the hours in. And here's a classic example. There's a famous cellist called Pablo Casals, Argentinian. He's 90 years of age. And a journalist asked him, well, you know all the repertoire backwards, why do you continue to practice? And he answered, because I'm beginning to feel I'm getting somewhere. Now, of course, if you want to be equally on top of your game as, God bless him, Gordon Higginson, and I invite you to go to YouTube and look up medium Gordon Higginson. He's no longer with us, sadly, but most probably one of the best mediums there ever was in terms of evidential mediumship. This man would give names, addresses, street names, door numbers, everything. And certainly worth looking if this is the kind of line of thing you wish to pursue. So intention, it really is. You have to just go with it. We'll go into some detail later on about intention. But you need absolutely to meditate before you can do any reading. I don't know anyone that can't meditate before evidential mediumship. Psychic, yes, quite possibly. But evidential mediumship requires emptying the mind, requires being very, very calm. And you need to practice to do this. There's no shortcut. So if you're having a bit of a day, a real trial of a day, and you know that when you get in of an evening, 7 o'clock tonight, I've got to do my meditation, Well, perhaps you might just want to sit down somewhere and just breathe and just allow, just to calm yourself before you do the meditation. And we'll talk about meditation later on because there's so many and so many different things. By the way, if this really does interest you and you want to help open up your third eye, then as I do here, I have a mug full of mugwort. It's a herb and it really helps the third eye. It's very legal and you can find it on the streets actually. I don't buy it where I live. I just pick it off the side of the street there. So mugwort is an excellent option for you to help enhance the process. So there we are. We've got the tips there. Leave your logic at the door. Offer no resistance. Fail to prepare and prepare to fail. So what's next? Generic readings. Again, this is not something that as an evidential medium you should be doing, generic readings. They should, well, non-generic readings, excuse me. These readings should be non-generic. That is to say, if as an evidential medium you are taking the centre ground, you're not going here, going there, you're playing it safe, then you're not an evidential medium. And actually, I would say you're not worthy of the title of an evidential medium because you are not given the information that comes through. Now, sometimes you may get it wrong. Now, that is a big question. Is it wrong or is it something else? And I'd love to talk about that at some time, because when you're an experienced medium, if it is wrong, there is a reason, and it could be several things here, and we don't have time to get into it right now. But a generic reading is the centre ground. You know, if you've got somebody who's 70 years of age in front of you, of course you can be this super confident person. So, well, you know, I've got an elderly lady here. Oh, I've got your mother here. Well, it's a good bet, isn't it? If the lady in front of you 70, that you've got your mother, that in itself is not evidence. So, okay, it can be supporting evidence depending on how the reading goes. She's got this lightish colour hair. Yeah, okay. She would do. It's probably grey. And she's slightly bent over. And she's got a bit of a frown, which quite a lot of old folk have. Well, this is not evidential mediumship readings. This is centre ground, playing it safe. Now, all of this can be used as supporting evidence if you start bringing through some real information. For example, I've got this mark here, which my mother gave me, God bless her, after she passed. She passed and I woke up the next morning with this mark here. So you can say all this stuff, but then you can say, oh, she's pointing to a mark just under her eye. She's got this mark here. This would be evidence. Okay. You could also say, and you know what? She sort of always stands like this, sits like this when thinking. That would be more evidence. And then the wishy-washy stuff that you gave would be supporting. I mean, what you should be saying is something like, if I can find my book, and I'll give you something from the book, if I can find the page and my eyes will allow me to read from it. Okay, here we go. So this is a non-generic reading, and this is an example of how a reading would go. I have your mother here in spirit. She shows herself to me looking much younger than yourself and gives me the period of her life around 50 years. She dresses very elegantly and presents a shawl that she used to wear often. Her hair is light brown and is shoulder length, and it's straight but slightly curly at the bottom. And she shows me light and darker strands within the hair. And as I say this, she draws my attention to her eyes, which are green. She really wants me to see her green eyes. Now that is just the start of providing evidence of who you got there. And as you can see, just to say, oh, she's got this light hair, is really nothing. But now we're saying the colour of the hair and the shape of the hair and the length of the hair makes all the difference. And you can go on with this and build on this and build on this. Usually it's a three-way conversation with people. The spirit world, me or you as the channel, and the reader. So it's important that the person you're giving the reading to communicate, so you can hear their voice. So they say, yes, no, I can understand that, or I need clarification. Can you give me a little bit more? It's your job as a medium also is to keep the person having the reading focused and vocal. We need them vocal when you're doing these readings. If they're not there and it's an email reading, it's a different energy. But while they're there, they are part of the Trinity, the three, and so they need to be vocal. They might say something like, "Oh yeah, Mum was always with her green eyes, and her shawl. She loved that shawl, always ironing it." Now, you must get them to understand that they can't give you information, but that energy, that link, that little bit that they were saying will allow a lot more information to come through as the energy builds up. So this is the difference between a generic wishy-washy, neither here or there, it could be anybody, and a non-generic reading, somebody that's actually there in the spirit world, and you can identify. The mark on the eye would be very good evidence, by the way, as of course names would be, and addresses, door numbers, anniversaries. All this will build up, and we talk about this in the language of mediumship, and we'll talk about this in how to give a reading. But this was just a general idea to give you the flavour of what you can expect. So these are the 4 heads up for today. Leave your logic at the door, offer no resistance, fail to prepare, and you prepare to fail. So that's going to be it for today on the mechanics of mediumship. Next week we're getting to a little bit more of the meat of it all, the process of the language of, and how to do a reading, and so on and so forth. And so this I think is enough for you to digest right now. And if I give you too much information, then we get swamped in it. By the way, I do courses and workshops on mediumship, and soon I'll be doing one online, and so you'll all get to hear about it if this is something that you wish to be involved in. So okay, look, let's move on a little bit now and look at psychic attacks, sleep paralysis, however you wish to call it, or we can look at possibly if you've got negative energy in the house, how do we get rid of it? Well, let's start with the negative energy in the house. First of all, how does negative energy come to the house? Well, there's various ways. One of the ways is that you've bought something second-hand into the house, and everything is energy, and certain energies attach themselves to other energies. So if you've bought yourself a little table, then that's second hand. The advice, first of all, is to give it a good old smudge when you get it in the house, or outside the house actually. Might be better. Give it a smudge, give it a cleanse, say a little mantra, and that's it. And that should prevent actually any problems. I don't know anybody that has had a problem actually by doing that immediately. So you have to look at what you brought into the house. It could be something that you brought back with you from work. You know, look, if you're a shining light, if you are somebody that's got a bright light around you, then you will attract, whilst you'll attract light, you'll also attract some negative stuff. So, oh, what's going on here? And so they'll be attracted to you. If you are open energetically, this is when it becomes a problem. So heads up everyone, after you've finished the meditation, make sure that you are closed down. All your energy centers are closed down. And my advice also is to eat something and watch something on the TV that is fun, enjoyable, light-hearted. So this is another way you bring stuff into the house. Okay, I gave this example a while back on another show. If you are sitting at home alone, it's midnight, you've got your beer in your hand and you're watching a horror movie, I can guarantee you within 15 minutes you will not feel at home alone for very much longer, because the energy of what you are watching, which is supported by the acting and the words of the actors, put you in the fear mode. And when you're in fear, you attract fear. When you're in joy, you attract joy. If you want love, you must be love. If you want joy, you must be joy. But now you've scared the bejeebers out of yourself, and you continue to scare the bejeebers out of yourself, and so you actually are bringing that energy in to your house. This is all non-local. It's all energy. The internet is an extension of our consciousness. So that's why it's really good, especially in this day and age, that you put up positive and enlightening information. And this is why we're seeing many of these meditation groups coming out of nowhere for the healing that's required right now. So the internet is an extension of our consciousness. The TV is an energy, and whatever you watch you will bring back into the home with you. So if you just watch one horror movie, it's not a problem. But if you're depressed, a couch potato, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, your vibration is very, very, very low. Much easier for negative energy to go, aha, this looks like a nice home, and the chances are it can come in. Look, it's no surprise the people that were in these horror films, The Exorcist, I think it was The Omen, I'm not sure, have all been having incredible difficulty with their lives. The ones that are still alive, you know, you're filming that energy for 6 weeks. It's gonna stick around with you, believe me. So the best thing is not to have the stuff in the house in the first place, not to have the energy in the house in the first place. So be careful what you watch, is the advice here. As I say, if you're depressed, this is also an invitation for these negative energies to come in, and we've really got to do some healing on you, if that's what's required, to get rid of the negative energy. So anyway, let's assume we don't know how it comes. Let's assume you're not depressed, you're just getting on with life. Let's assume that you haven't bought anything, but the house is not right. You're missing things and they're turning up again, and arguments are in the house, which would normally not happen. Then there's a negative energy that's going on there. These energies are very, very easy to clear. You've just got to actually believe that the energies that you can work with the energy and clear it by mantras. Uh, Again, it's non-local. I cleaned a house not too long ago. Well, actually, it wasn't a house. It was sleep paralysis from a lady. And where was she now? I think she was in Ukraine. Um, and of course, I'm here in Austria. We don't have to be there. The energy is non-local. It knows no difference. Um, but if you're in the house, that's okay. You can do it. What I would advise is anybody, if they're having problems, first of all, to get some sage and smudge the place. Um, I would open the windows, let all the air circulate. These are just some simple things that you can do. If you've got a gong or you've got something in the corners, bang the gongs in the corners, energy gets stuck there. I would look at the music you're playing. I would start to play some really nice music. Quite importantly, actually, is if you go online, you can find, and it has to be pure tone, 5 to 8 hertz pure tone. If there's any kind of melody or anything behind it, it's not pure tone. Put this on, go shopping, put it on for an hour. It is the healing frequency, 5 to 8 hertz. Now, if you've got cats or dogs in the house, you can't do it because their hearing is far, far, far sharper than ours, and it will drive them absolutely nuts. It will drive you nuts if you stand there listening to it for more than 10 minutes. But it's really good for cleansing the energy in a house. Get rid of all stuff that's you know, I don't know, tidy the house, have a look at feng shui, but get rid of clutter, clean your mirrors and picture frames, do a little house clean. And it's important when you're doing the smudging to say a prayer that's really important to you. Otherwise, well, the smudging would work, but the prayer, the power of prayer, which is another show we're going to talk about, is phenomenal. So you choose a prayer that's powerful for you, and this usually does it. If you're not really sure about doing healing, healing a room or a person or cleansing the energy around them, then give me a call. We can set up an appointment and I can do this from where I am right now. We can be quite successful with it. The person has to be willing if it's for a person. We cleared some, let's say, they weren't benevolent, but they weren't benevolent either. Some spirits that were popping in to see this unfortunate person only when they slept alone. When they slept with their partner, because this person done a lot of travelling, it's nothing. Only when this person was alone did the visitations come. And that was quite successful. I want to point out actually that there's no magic in this, and I and many others, we don't possess any special powers. It is no different than learning a technique that's been bestowed upon us. No different than, I would say, learning architecture or plumbing or learning to sing. It's just understanding the technique of how it all works, and anyone can do it. But if you can't do it, you don't know how to do it, then please give us a call and we can see what we can do to help you. So let's look at very briefly sleep paralysis. This is where entities come in and you can't turn, and you feel like they're sitting on you or there's pressure on you, and it's scary. And this is the problem. The fear is what feeds these entities, these energies. I want to say that a lot of the time they are not there to hurt you. They're there to get sustenance and nutrition. And yes, there are some that are very naughty and get their jollies from scaring the life out of you also. But generally speaking, they're there for sustenance. The sustenance is fear. And actually, here is the link between the world we live in today and the spirit world. People are living in fear today, and if they was to stop living in fear and live in the joy and the love and the creation, you will find that once we get a certain amount of numbers, the world will start changing. And we see science and spirituality coming together, and so we do know that living in fear on the earth plane is actually no different than being in fear with these psychic attacks. So how do we get rid of it? It takes courage, and this is probably a little bit more difficult to do than clearing a house, because especially if it's happening to you, once the energy knows that you're in fear, it will want to keep you there. So this is my story. Many years ago, I suffered these psychic attacks. I even had the energy with their hands around my neck. And my story is this, that I felt them at the end. Oh, here we go again. You know, I know it's going to pass, but no, it got this really cold chill and the pressure was down. So I put my hand up. And for me, the Lord's Prayer is very powerful. It's a very powerful. You don't have to do the Lord's Prayer, whatever mantra is best for you. But I started to say the Lord's Prayer, and they pushed my hand down and kept my hands down. Okay, I thought to myself. By now, I'd been quite used to this after many years. And so, I was getting to the stage where enough's enough. So I said, okay. So I started saying the Lord's Prayer. And then they didn't put their hand in my mouth. They just slowed my voice down. And I thought, okay. And so then I said, okay, you can do that, but you can't take away my thoughts or change my thoughts or interfere with my thoughts. And so I said the Lord's Prayer in my mind. Bang, it was gone. Instantly gone. And it's never been back. I didn't have fear. I'd gone past that stage. And I think a lot of us do. There is a friend of mine who does a lot of exorcisms, actually. It's a horrible word. I mean, it's not like Hollywood or anything like this, but I use it. She experienced the same. And she got to the point where she said to this entity, okay, I don't care. Do what you want with me. I just don't care anymore. Whoosh, it was gone. Because the fear had gone. She didn't care. Do what you want. I don't care. No more fear. It's gone. It has to find sustenance somewhere else. So this is the key. Not living in fear. And this is the key to life. Not living in fear. And once you don't live in fear in life, you find that your spiritual side has a chance to breathe also. So these things I was talking about are quite exceptional. They don't happen to too many people, I got to say. Thank God. But they do happen from time to time, and this is what people like me are here for. I would also say that if you are a budding medium and this is the work that you would like to do, then you should join a rescue circle, which is where I began, in a rescue circle. This was bringing spirits in that either didn't know that they'd passed or didn't accept that they'd passed into the light. And we would use the use of table tipping. Again, do not attempt this whatsoever unless you're experienced or with someone experienced. This is physical mediumship, and this is where you can get yourself in trouble if you're not experienced and you don't know how to protect yourself and you're not in complete trust with your guide. So it's an interesting world. I'd like to talk more about my experiences as a rescue worker, as doing the house clearing. It's not like you see on the television. I've always been amazed that, you know, you see these TV shows where they go into the cellar of a pub because of all the noise, and they do it at 12 o'clock at night when the pub is shut, and they have all the lights off and they have all this mystery. You know, whenever I've done house clearing, I've done it during the day. Why do I want to scare the bejeebers out of myself, you know, and do it at night? The energy is there. Ah, so let's have a look. Hi, Amanda. Your internet is cutting out. Well, there you go. I mean, that's the that's probably the energy. But thanks for joining us today, Amanda. Look forward to seeing you soon. I'll let your internet cut out in peace. So there's Amanda, actually a very good medium herself, actually. And so, yes, where was I? So you must join a rescue circle and build it up this way. And this business of going into these places at 3 in the morning and getting rid of these unfortunate energies is a total nonsense. It's not necessary. It can be done in the light of day, and there is absolutely no need for it. Do not for 1 minute think that what you see on the telly is how it happens. There are exceptional circumstances, of course they are, but it doesn't work like that at all. And we're running out of time, but I'd like to finish off by saying to the people, first of all, if you want to do mediumship, get yourself involved in a good circle. Take advice from those tips that I gave you, which is leave your logic at the door, offer no resistance, fail to prepare, and you be prepared to fail. And of course, do not get involved with generic readings. You want to do non-generic readings supplying evidence. So all of that information can be found in my book, Proof of Survival, a development guide to mediumship. And it is a guide. It's not a novel. It's not packed with tons of information. It's there as a reference only. As I said, it's quite thin. You can probably read it in an hour and a half, but it is there for reference. So anyway, that's about it for now. Once again, I'd like to thank the New You TV network for having me on board. I look forward to developing this show, that we can make this a magazine program. As soon as I get a good team around me, I'll start developing it. In the meantime, you can find me on Facebook somewhere, actually, if I can just find that. No, that one seems to have disappeared. I had my Facebook thing working there, but no, it's disappeared. Anyway, if you go to Facebook, you can find me on Medium Mike Cavalli, and that's where you can pick up all the information about me and the work I do. Good news here in Austria, things are opening up again, so our online circles will be going back to being non-virtual. We'll be back with people, real people sitting in a circle. I'm not sure if I will continue the online circles. We do online mediumship circle, online healing circle. I'm not sure if that's going to continue, but we certainly will be continuing with the global healing meditations, which we do on a Sunday. If that interests you and you want to join us, we've got people all over the world doing that. We're only a small group at the moment, but we got people from Austria, Sri Lanka. I think we've had someone from Ukraine or Georgia out there in Russia, not Georgia in America. So that's looking really nice, connecting people all around the world. But things are picking up here in Austria. We don't live in fear. We live in truth and light, and that's the only way it can be. So this is Mike Cavalli saying, look, bye-bye for now. And I'll see you all another time next week, where we carry on a little bit more from information from my book. We'll probably get into the language of mediumship, or preparing for a mediumship reading. So whatever you're doing on the rest of your Saturday, I wish you joy, love and light. This is Mike Cavalli saying